I had no idea Disney and YouTube were even in a lawsuit. Well, that's crazy. I don't know nothing about this. Usually I know a little bit about the thing that I'm jumping into, so let's go ahead and see what's going on with the YouTube versus Disney lawsuit. Apparently it's getting crazy.
Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and it's just me for this video because Neon is busy.
Well, that's unusual. Usually we get at least Neon, and usually it's Geeky Sparkles that's the one that's not there.
Elsewhere. So for at least 3 videos today, you're going to get me. We're going to talk in this one about the YouTube Disney lawsuit. So if you recall, I'm pretty sure Neon did a video about it, that YouTube and Disney are beefing because YouTube...
I missed that one. If I would have seen it, I would have watched it. It didn't pop up on my timeline. I had no idea.
YouTube took this guy, Justin Conley, away from Disney. And Disney was trying to argue that, you know, oh, it was tortious interference because this guy was somebody who would normally negotiate on Disney's behalf with YouTube. And it was probably because they're worried that he was going to spill the beans or give them their secrets or tell them, hey, they're not really worth what they want you to pay or something like that. So they were threatening to sue this guy and to sue YouTube over him leaving, even though apparently he gave them plenty of notice. And the concerning thing to me is, where is the line drawn? I understand.
You have to work with them forever, and you have to be part of their cult forever, or it'll be your head.
He took a 3-year contract extension, but to be fair, Bob Chapek had a contract extension, and you still fired him, even though he had a contract extension. So it sounds like they can fire you whenever they want, but you're not allowed to ever go anyplace else, because if you do, Disney's going to come after you because they're afraid you're going to share their secrets. And it begs the question that, how is it fair to the employee that you can never go anyplace else because Disney will lose their shit? So before we get into it any further...
Actually, you know, that might be a thing in other companies where they don't get rid of people because they know too much. And then those people bring on people, and then those people know too much. And then that's how you get a bunch of crazy weirdos. Because they get rid of all the normal people, all of the problematic people. And if you're one of those people that know too much and you try to leave, good luck. They're gonna come after your life.
Please like and subscribe. If you do, I'll give you a woohoo, woohoo. And we're gonna talk about this. So Variety has the article about it. YouTube disputes Disney's lawsuit claims over Justin Conley hiring, alleges Disney uses exec as pawn in licensing talks. So yeah, they're worried that he knows too much. I think basically what's going on. So YouTube is fired back against Disney.
100% that's what's going on. He knows too much. They can't allow him to just leave.
Because he was a high-level media distribution exec. He worked with deals with YouTube. That's probably how YouTube knew him. Last month, he was there after 2 decades at Disney and ESPN. He quit to join YouTube as Global VP of Media and Sports Partnerships.
Yeah, they don't even care about the people that have been working there for decades. What makes people think they actually care about them as the consumer?
Because it's media and sports, and Disney's trying to make sure they corner the market on sports. That's what they were tried that venue thing, which fell through, and now they're doing the thing and they're tying with Fubo and stuff. And there's a lot of questions about, you know, whether it's legit or it's fair what they're doing.
You know, I know the best way to prevent a situation like this. Just don't have any secrets. Why do you have secrets to protect? What secrets are there to protect? IP? Everybody already knows your IP. The only reason it's not everywhere is because of IP laws, IP protection laws, copyright laws. We already have all your shit, bro. What is there to be hiding? Who you're possibly going to be working with, or who you do work with, what governments you work with, you know?
And then YouTube is bigger than Disney. YouTube's kicking everybody's ass, and they want to get into the sports partnerships too, globally. So Disney's like, oh, hell no. And we got this problem. Now, in my experience, Somebody who's been at a company for like 2 decades and has invested that much time of their life into some place usually doesn't jump ship unless they have a reason. Be it, toxic work environment, be it that because he's a white guy, he can't go any further in the company, or they won't like give him, any kind of better position. But YouTube came in and offered him something that he wanted. We don't know what of those things or how many of those things, but they offered him something that was enough for 20 plus years of being at Disney and ESPN, he would go there. So now Disney filed that lawsuit in May against YouTube and Conley over this, alleging breach of contract, tortious interference in a contractual relationship, and unfair competition.
Yeah, this is nothing to Disney. They don't feel any pain over this at all. Didn't Disney sue, like, a family who had a dead child for using their IP on a coffin? Remember that whole lawsuit about, was it a dude or a lady? Somebody died at the restaurant and they were like, nope, it was their fault. We had nothing to do with this. It was their own fault.
Well, I would argue unfair competition here would be under Disney's part because literally you cannot go work anyplace else. Now, a lot of places do have, non-competes for so long.
Dude, this whole situation is just absolutely insane. It always is with Disney.
But there's also been, arguments about how legal some of those are too, because it's not fair to basically say you can't work in any other industry related to us for 2 years, because then people are going to be out of work, especially if they fire you. But that's okay if they fire you. You can just, curl up and die and that's fine, but you're not allowed to leave them. So now YouTube has filed its opposition to Disney lawsuit. They said Disney asked this court to specifically enforce defendant Justin Conley's purported fixed-term employment agreement, to issue a restraining order that would place Mr. Conley out of work, and to preclude Mr. Conley from working for the employer of his choice for years.
Well, yeah, they don't want him working anywhere else, because he made Disney/ESPN partially what it is today. They don't want him to go over to some other company and make them better than Disney ESPN, because he knows how to make something better than what Disney was providing, because Disney has all these stipulations, It's not just that guy that was running it. He didn't get to make all the decisions. And there was probably a lot of things that he wanted to change that Disney was like, nope, we're not changing it. And he could see that it was holding everything back, and they still wouldn't let him do it. And they know that. And he's going to go over to YouTube and make that the best place for sports, to replace ESPN. Nobody's watching ESPN on cable, except for like old people. Everybody's watching on their phone.
Again, that whole non-compete thing. But yeah, so they're trying to make sure that he has a restraining order. They're hiding something. They're afraid his knowledge is going to get out. They're afraid that he knows too much, and since they work with YouTube on deals, that he's going to cost them money.
It's not really that even that he knows too much, I think. I think it's that he knows how to make a better thing than Disney ESPN.
It's likely what's going on, or cost them some kind of, sports deal or something like that globally, or even in the United States. Who knows? But there's
possibly
something they're afraid they're going to lose to go this far. Okay.
All they know is they're going to lose out on a bunch of money by not having this guy, or not even really by not having him, because they don't want him, but they also know that he could make something better. So they don't want him working anywhere else. They just want him to be homeless. They want him to be out of the job, preferably dead, I think.
YouTube said in its reply they filed yesterday that they took issue with several of Disney's allegations. According to the Disney lawsuit, Conley has signed a 3-year contract in November 2024, which his move to YouTube allegedly violates.
This guy probably better stay away from electric vehicles or anything with electronics. Maybe start his car before he gets in it.
As Conley had a one-time right to terminate it for any reason effective March 1st, 2027. So they're saying he has a new contract, so he shouldn't be allowed to go someplace else because he signed with them. Again, may I remind you, they also had given Bob Chapek a brand new contract, but they had no problem terminating that when it was themselves.
Well, yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it works. Because giant corporations are just inherently selfish by design. They have to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, making more and more and more money. And the only way to do that is to be on top. And you can't allow one of your best people that you don't want involved in your company anymore to go to a different company to make you look bad. You don't want that. Not if you're a giant evil corporation.
You know, so it's interesting how that works, isn't it? That's okay when they terminate your contract, but you're not allowed to terminate on them. According to YouTube, Disney employed Conley as on an at-will basis. Well, yeah, but if it's under contract, that I don't know that much. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm also saying that that's a little bit gray there. Disney kept for itself unilaterally the absolute and unfettered right to fire Mr. Conley or Bob Chapek at any time and for any reason without any obligation to him. An order requiring Conley to either return to Disney to work against his will and or to quit the new...
Yeah, they straight up want him to either be a slave or to not exist. So be a slave. That's your only option, Mr. Connolly. Looks like you got yourself in a bind. I think people are starting to realize that these giant evil bureaucratic corporations that are focused solely on money are not the way to go, because it sucks. It sucks to work for a place like that, and everybody can see it. Used to, you think you were a success if you were a CEO of a company, and now you're just like, man, this sucks. People aren't wanting to do it. They're becoming YouTubers and streamers and starting companies that way.
Position at YouTube. So that's what that Disney says. You have to stay at Disney and work there against your will for the 3 years under your contract, or you have to quit at YouTube and you can't work anyplace else. I mean, wow. Disney, these lawsuits, like the lady that died from the allergy at...
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Disney Springs, and them telling you that they have the right to make sure they force mediation if you sign Disney Plus. They're not very smart about this, and they're going out and they put this big, lawsuit and stuff in play. It's not good PR, Disney, because basically they're telling everybody is employees are okay as long as they do what we want and we own you. You have to either work for us against your will or you can't work anywhere.
And keep your fucking mouth shut about it.
Not a good look, Disney. It really isn't a good look. So he's expressly prohibited by statute and other controlling California law, according to YouTube's filing about Disney. They're threatening that he has to come back there or whatever. They also said Disney's request for emergency relief is bogus because Disney knew for over 6 weeks.
Man, YouTube is about to enter the sports game, I think. They kind of already have, but I think they're about to go hard on it. Maybe even like a YouTube sports app. That's my prediction. They're gonna be direct competition with ESPN now. Good luck. Good luck, Disney. Do they have like a user-created content platform? I don't think they do, and I think that's the only way these giant corporations exist in the future. Amazon figured it out a while ago. Elon Musk figured it out. Google figured it out. Everybody, well, Google started it.
That Mr. Conley intended to leave Disney and join YouTube. So he gave them 6 weeks notice. And usually when you're an executive, you usually give, weeks notice, months notice, as opposed to just 2 weeks notice like a regular employee would do. That's usually within what you expect. 6 weeks, couple months, that's usually fair. And that's usually within, expectation. Conley, who most recently was president of Disney Platform Distribution, oversaw all third-party media sales efforts for distribution, which would include selling.
Oh shit, I think I was right. I think he knows how to make a better platform. And that's what Disney's afraid of. Oh, let's go, man. This is some lawfare at its finest.
To YouTube. Affiliate marketing and affiliate-related business operations, including with YouTube. So, affiliate marketing, ads, business for operations deals with YouTube. So he has the inner workings of Disney, and Disney's afraid it's going to cost them more money, or if they were playing hardball and so they couldn't afford something, he could tell YouTube, oh, no, Disney.
I think it's way worse than that. I think they're afraid that YouTube is about to try and kill ESPN.
They can't afford it, and it's going to probably cost them more, and they are afraid of that. So that's why they're going to spend millions on a lawsuit and try to force someone to work there who doesn't want to. And what would happen was, knowing them, what they'll probably do is, you have to come back to Disney and work for us because of the contract. And if he would say, okay, fine, then I'll quit YouTube and come back to Disney. Knowing Disney, they probably let him be there for a couple weeks, make sure that, interrogated him to find out what he knew and what he told people. And then, well, we're allowed to fire you unilaterally. And now that we fired you, you can't work anywhere. It would not surprise me if Disney would do something.
That sounds exactly like what they would do. That's probably exactly what they would do.
Because as much as everybody's like, oh my God, Disney's for family. No, they're not. They're corporation.
Yeah, all they care about is money. That's all they all care about. Just look at the whole Pride thing when, like, nobody's posting about it.
So Connolly said in April 2025, after disclosing to Disney his intent to accept YouTube's offer, he stopped leading or participating materially in any of the current negotiations on the license renewal between Disney and YouTube. Right now, they're working on an agreement for that. So he wasn't even involved. He stopped leading. He stopped participating in it. He's unaware of what the deal was entailing. So he went back to YouTube. Again, 20 years at Disney, he still knows too much. At the time, another Disney executive replaced him as a lead negotiator for the deal, and other Disney executives are already taking over the ongoing negotiations of the company, per court filings. In early April 2025, Google and Disney exchanged communications regarding Google's desire to hire Connolly for the YouTube role, according to the YouTube filing. Disney asked for its renewal negotiations with YouTube, which would normally not begin until around August, to be prioritized by YouTube, according to the internet company. So they wanted it moved up. Rather than invoking Connolly's contract and purportedly prevented him from exiting Disney to join YouTube, according to YouTube. So basically, they weren't going to negotiate it yet. There was no reason that he could have left. I mean, he was good. They weren't even negotiating the renewal. It wasn't even going to be negotiated till late summer. Disney demanded it get pushed up. When they did that, he already stepped back. He's like, no, I'm not going to be involved in this because, it would be a conflict of interest. And then Disney turned around and then are filing a lawsuit that it's tortious interference because the guy who normally negotiates.
This is like lawsuit mafia right here. Disney is the lawsuit mafia. That's fucking crazy.
This stuff is going to the company they're negotiating with. But they are the ones that pushed it up by the sounds of it.
Yeah. So they changed the terms. And then we're upset when dude wouldn't go for it because he was already leaving and they knew that. And they were like, oh shit, we better get him while we can, while he's still thinking about it.
According to YouTube. So Disney made it clear that it intends to use Mr. Connolly as a pawn to advance the renegotiation of its license renewal with YouTube.
Wow. Yeah. So YouTube doesn't just make their own thing. Yeah. Right.
Google told Disney it would be willing to move up the YouTube license renewal negotiations with Disney, but could only do so if Mr. Connolly joined YouTube sooner rather than later. Because Google said that either the earlier Connolly joined the YouTube and took over negotiations on contract agreements with other companies, the sooner YouTube would be able to free up its other employees to focus on the Disney license renewal. But Disney doesn't want that because it doesn't even sound like he's going to be doing Disney's renewal. But he knows enough stuff that he's going to be doing other negotiations with people that maybe Disney works with. And he, loose lips sink ships kind of thing. And they're worried he's going to say something, probably. According to YouTube, Disney did not respond for the last communication, did not offer Mr. Connolly any meaningful path to exit with Disney support.
I love when a lawsuit just means absolutely nothing to nobody. So I can just watch and laugh at these two giant corporations fighting over this guy who may or may not know a little bit too much. And he's also a corporate shill. You love to see it. These companies are just eating each other alive.
So they said it's basically just to lock him in. It's equivalent of a rock star or pro athlete. YouTube argued that Connolly's work for Disney did not involve services that are special, unique, or extraordinary. The one area where the court may be permitted to enforce personal service contracts. And they said that the narrow exception for services of special, unique, unusual, extraordinary, or intellectual character.
Hold on. Work for Disney did not involve services that are special, unique, or extraordinary. So they're trying to say that no, he's not that great. He doesn't have information that will help us build our own sports platform. No way. He's just a regular dude. He just knows how to do the work. Yeah. They wouldn't be fighting this hard if that was the case.
Has been applied only to contracts for the service of notable artists, performers, or professional athletes. So they're trying to use something that, you have a notable person and they're the only, I'm the only Geeky Sparkles, right? And say the company wanted to keep me because I was a draw for some reason.
That's exactly what I've been saying. I think I'm right. I think I'm right about this. They're saying basically by this guy not being with Disney and being with YouTube, him alone being there is going to drive sales.
I'm just using this, hypothetically. They could argue that I offer something special that they can't let me out of a contract for. But in this case, with Connolly, it's not the case. He's one of many he might be in charge of it. He might have years of experience with Disney, but you can't apply the same argument to him as you would apply to a performer or an athlete in a situation like that. They go on. They said Google YouTube has made it clear to Disney that Mr. Conley will not be involved in any capacity with YouTube's license agreement. So he's not even involved in the negotiation. So it's a non-issue.
Yeah, they're just fighting over him, man. And he's just like, well, I guess I'll just see what happens with this situation.
YouTube's offer letter to Conley demands that he continue to adhere to his confidentiality obligations with Disney and confirms he cannot bring, use, or disclose any of Disney's confidential or proprietary information during his work at YouTube. So he's not even allowed to tell them. And YouTube agreed to it. Like, they're all agreeing to Disney's confidentiality. There should be no reason there's a problem here. They would not be asking him information. He cannot give them information. There's no issue here.
Well, you still can, though. You still can. There are ways around it. You just have to not tell them, you know. You have to wink, wink, not tell them.
There really is no issue here. So I don't know why Disney is being so ridiculous about this whole thing. They said that, you know, YouTube called the provision of Conley's employment agreement that purports to prohibit him from leaving Disney unconscionable because Disney demanded that Mr. Conley sign it. Mr. Conley was not represented by counsel, and Disney had overwhelming bargaining power as compared to Mr. Conley. Said it purports to bind only Mr. Conley to work for a period of time while allowing Disney's unfettered discretion to terminate him for any reason. So it's very one-sided and it's very unfair. Unfortunately, that happens a lot with companies, but here we are.
Yeah, and this time it just so happens to be a really big player in the game. And it's against YouTube. So this one's going to be interesting to watch. I'm curious. What's going to happen with this? Hope I accidentally come across another video in the future about this whole situation, because I'd like to find out. This is interesting. Two giant companies fighting over a big name that may or may not lead to YouTube Sports being a thing. And it kind of already is, but it's mostly just licensing deals.
So it's also in California, and California usually tends to favor employees over companies. However, it's an executive, so I'm not really sure how it's going to go. But Disney is really, really worried about him going there for some reason.
Yeah, I think they kind of should be. I don't blame them. It's stupid and wrong and evil. But, you know, when it comes to two giant corporations fighting over a guy.
Even though they have it in writing that he cannot disclose Disney secrets, they've said that he's not going to be working with Disney in the negotiations. They've made it very clear that they even tried.
What secrets? What counts as a secret? Could he go in there and be like, well, I'm not going to tell you anything except it all sucks. It's a dumpster fire over there. And he'll just use his skills to make something better, because why would you tell any of Disney secrets if it's all just like that they're garbage? I mean, he left for a reason.
To make it that, you know, he was already moved over, so it was a non-issue. Disney's the one who was pushing to move it forward. It does sound like they're trying to use him as a pawn for negotiations, because there really is no reason for them to be going this hard in the paint over something so silly. They have to be hiding something, and they're really afraid of it. Or, in my opinion, there's something going on. No one acts this way and spends all this.
I think Disney knows too much. I think Disney found some stuff out about some future plans at YouTube, and they're scared.
Money unless they're really worried that something's going to bite them in the ass. So It makes you wonder, what is it that they're worried about?
They're worried about YouTube Sports, my man. Well, my woman.
So what do you think? Please comment and let us know, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yep, this is crazy. Absolutely insane. I love this. Love it so much. You love to see it. I think Disney's not going to exist much longer, actually. Or not exist how it is right now much longer. It'll probably be breaking up, doing massive layoffs, selling off portions of their company, selling off a lot of the shell companies that they own that do nothing. Buy a t-shirt down there in the description. I'm out.